Yeah, I appreciate in the Bible reading plan for this week that you remind us that the Bible offers us a different narrative around our emotional pain. And you may not recognize this, that if you're reading the Bible, they're real human lives. And a lot of times the Bible is more open and honest about these things than we often are. I think we're in the American South, and we tend to hide things that are, or experience shame or guilt around some of these matters. And you just remind us that in the Bible, Elijah collapses under a tree and he's exhausted. David writes poems around grief and despair. Mary and Martha are genuinely, openly angry with God. There's the full range of emotional pain that's there. Jesus himself is completely overwhelmed with sorrow, and in the face of death, he's completely anguished. What is it that the Bible offers a person in terms of helping them name what's going on and changing the narrative?
I think first off, the Bible offers us this it normalizes the struggle with mental health and emotional health as part of being a human, that it is normal to struggle. It is normal to feel anxious and overwhelmed and stressed, to feel emotionally depleted, that it doesn't mean that something is wrong with your faith, that you are not praying enough, or that you are not faithful enough, or that you are not being a devoted Christian enough, that mental health is not connected to your own productivity of working out your faith and salvation, that struggling with mental health is just part of being human. It's part of living in a broken world, and that we're carrying real things. And I think what the Bible shows us is that God meets people right where they are in the midst of it. He doesn't say, clean up first. He meets us in the struggle, in the wrestle, in the heartache. And he's there. It says, and David writes that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted. He binds up their wounds, that that his presence, that he talks about his ear is leaning down, bent low to hear, that he invites us to cast our cares on him. He genuinely cares for us. And so I think it's important to see that the Bible doesn't tell you, in order for you to follow Jesus, you need to get everything together mentally, physically, emotionally. What the Bible tells us is that God meets us in our brokenness, and that he uses people that are broken to carry out his message and his purposes to the world. And that sometimes people are healed and sometimes they're not. Sometimes the struggle goes away and sometimes it doesn't. What does that say about God? What does that say about his character? And that's why the narration matters of the story that we're telling ourselves about who God is, that God is faithful. But what if God hasn't been faithful to us in this kind of way? What if he hasn't taken away the anxiety? What if there is still anguish? What if there's still depression? Like, what if God hasn't rescued us from these places? How do you handle those kinds of questions for people?
I think that at a moment where I was kind of faced with an individual who was at the end of their rope, I reached out to a mental health provider, and they offered, and I just said, what do I do? And they essentially just said, connect people to resources and relationships. And so I would say that you have more resources available to you than you realize. And so actively engage the resources that are available to you. At the very least, be aware of them if you're in a healthy spot, so that you can offer them to your friends, or be aware of them when you might need them yourself. And then also, I think you have to intentionally build your support system, and that has to. You don't have to carry the hard parts of life by yourself. There are pieces of it that are uniquely yours to carry, but also there are times where you can't carry it by yourself, and you have to, leaning on your support system. First off, it's build a support system of relationships, and then lean on them at the times where you need them. Yeah. Those are probably the two things. You have more resources and more people around you that actually genuinely desire for you to experience health and wholeness than you even realize. You just have to open yourself to it. And for me, the hardest part is actually asking for help. That's the issue. This is a heavy week if you're engaging the Bible reading plan, but I think an important one on the journey we're taking through the summer, and one that I think you can come back to again and again beyond the summer when you're needing some help thinking about what it might look like for you to experience not just holiness but wholeness in your life.